The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the tranquil pond. A fisherman sat at the edge, his fishing rod in hand, waiting patiently for a catch. Hours had passed, but not a single fish had bitten the bait. He sighed, scratching his head in frustration. "What's wrong today? Did I choose the wrong spot?" he muttered to himself. He leaned over the water, peering into its depths. To his surprise, he saw dozens of fish swimming around his hook. They darted gracefully, their silvery bodies glinting in the fading light. "How strange! So many fish, yet none are biting. What's going on here?" he wondered aloud. Just then, a passerby noticed the fisherman's puzzled expression. He approached and said, "Brother, it seems you haven't fished here in a while. Don't you know, the fish in this pond no longer bite the hook?" The fisherman looked up, startled. "What do you mean? Why wouldn't they bite?" The passerby smiled knowingly. A few days ago, a saint stayed by this pond. He gave a sermon on the power of silence. His words were so profound that even the fish listened intently. Since then, whenever someone casts a hook, the fish remain silent. If they don't open their mouths, how can they get caught? The fisherman was stunned. "A saint? Silence? What kind of magic is this?" The passerby chuckled. "It's not magic, brother. It's wisdom. The fish learned the value of silence. Perhaps you should try fishing somewhere else." The fisherman sat back, deep in thought. He had never heard of such a thing. Fish learning the power of silence? It sounded absurd, yet the evidence was right before his eyes. He packed his gear, deciding to return the next day to observe this strange phenomenon. The next morning, the fisherman returned to the pond, not to fish, but to listen. He sat quietly, watching the water. Soon, an old man with a long white beard approached. It was the saint the passerby had mentioned. The saint sat by the pond, closed his eyes, and began to speak. His voice was calm, yet powerful, carrying across the water. "Silence is the greatest teacher," he said. "It is in silence that we find clarity, peace, and strength. Even the fish in this pond have learned this lesson." The fisherman listened intently. The saint continued, "God has given us 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, but only 1 tongue. Do you know why? Because the tongue, though small, can create countless troubles. A single word spoken in anger can destroy relationships, tarnish reputations, and sow discord. But silence? Silence protects, heals, and empowers." The fish in the pond seemed to gather near the saint, as if listening to his words. The fisherman was amazed. He had never seen anything like it. The saint's sermon ended with a simple message: control your tongue and you control your life. As the saint left, the fisherman sat in silence, reflecting on the words he had heard. He realized that the fish weren't just avoiding the hook, they were practicing the saint's teachings. They had chosen silence over temptation. Inspired by the saint's words, the fisherman decided to change his ways. He returned home and shared the story with his family. "From now on," he declared, "I will speak less and listen more. I will choose my words carefully and avoid unnecessary arguments." His wife and children were surprised but supportive. They noticed a change in him almost immediately. He became calmer, more patient, and more thoughtful. His relationships improved, and his home was filled with peace. One day, a neighbor came to him, angry about a dispute over land. Instead of arguing, the fisherman listened quietly. When the neighbor finished venting, the fisherman spoke softly. "I understand your concerns. Let's find a solution together." The neighbor was taken aback by his calm demeanor and agreed to discuss the matter peacefully. The fisherman realized the power of silence and measured speech. He began to see how his words, or lack thereof, could influence those around him. Curious about the pond's mysterious fish, the fisherman decided to investigate further. He spent days observing the pond, watching the fish swim gracefully, their mouths tightly closed. He noticed that even when other fishermen cast their hooks, the fish remained silent. One evening, as he sat by the pond, he saw a group of children throwing breadcrumbs into the water. The fish swam close but did not open their mouths to eat. The children laughed, saying, "These fish are so clever, they know not to bite." The fisherman smiled. The fish had indeed learned a valuable lesson. He wondered if humans could do the same. Could they resist the temptation of unnecessary speech and actions? The fisherman decided to test himself. He vowed to remain silent for an entire day, speaking only when absolutely necessary. It was harder than he expected. He found himself wanting to comment on everything, from the weather to his wife's cooking, but he resisted, choosing instead to listen and observe. By the end of the day, he felt a sense of peace he had never experienced before. His family noticed the change too. "You seem so calm," his wife remarked. "What's your secret?" The fisherman smiled. "Silence," he said simply. The fisherman's transformation began to influence those around him. His friends and neighbors noticed his calm demeanor and asked for his advice. He shared the story of the pond and the saint's teachings. Slowly but surely, the village began to change. Arguments decreased and people started resolving conflicts peacefully. The fisherman's pond became a symbol of wisdom and self-control. Visitors came from far and wide to see the silent fish and learn from their example. Years passed and the fisherman grew old. He often sat by the pond, reflecting on the lessons he had learned. The fish still swam silently, a living testament to the power of silence. One day, a young boy approached him. "Grandfather," the boy asked, "why don't the fish bite the hook?" The fisherman smiled. "Because they have learned the value of silence, my child, and so should we." The fisherman's story spread far and wide. The pond became a place of pilgrimage where people came to learn the art of silence and self-control. The saint's teachings lived on, not just in the fish, but in the hearts of all who visit it. The fisherman's final words to his family were simple. "Remember, silence is not weakness, it is strength. Control your tongue and you control your destiny."